Many of you know last week it was my birthday. So I finished work last Thursday and I take after my dad. I'm never shy to speak about my faith. And I tell a lot of people at work, yes, I do go to church. And yes, I'm a Christian if they ask me. So last Thursday, a couple of the ladies from work gave me birthday presents, which I was really grateful for. But the one that touched me the most was one of the supervisors went into one of the shops at the city centre and bought me a Christian, what I'm holding. Each verse is from the Bible. There's a little message on all of them. So one says beautiful, one says victorious, one says creative, one says amazing, one says chosen, one says complete, one says strength, one says enough, and then it says you are never alone, always loved. And the lady said she went in the shop, you go around and do your own little bag. She said, is there anything else? She said to the shopkeeper, she said, no, we've only got this one left. And she said, that is so Lisa. And I was just like, wow, that is so amazing to know that each one of these have got a Bible verse underneath them. And you don't have to do anything. Just be yourself and people know that you love Jesus.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Who else would like to share? Oh, we might be quick today, look. Any more? Thank you, Chris.
Every time we come to these testimonies, I don't like coming up here. Not that I don't like sharing. I don't like the fact that it's going to be on YouTube forever. Because I know that how I feel now, how I express my faith now, will change. It's different. It's a journey. And one of the things for me is I have so many questions about my faith, about God, about, do I really believe that? I'm challenged all the time. And I remember many years ago I read Isaiah 41, and in it says, I looked up different versions of this same verse, and it says, sit down and rest, everyone, recover your strength, gather around me, say what's on your heart, together, big word, together, let's decide what's right. And then the other one, it says, listen in silence before me, bring your strongest arguments, that's me down to a T, rattle my cage big time, come now and speak. And when we hear the story about the road to Emmaus, when Jesus just fell into step with the disciples, and he just simply created that space where he listened completely. So he said to them, tell me what's happening. Tell me what it is that's going on. He listened to their life speaking. And then in this it says, together let's decide. So he opened it up to them. And I suppose in a way it's a bit of an encouragement that often, you know, when I'm using the word evangelize, but when we're just listening to people, so often they just don't know what they want. So it is just allowing their life to speak. And I'm reading a book at the minute. It's called Faith After Doubt. And I look at that and I think, that's the wrong title. No. It's Faith with Doubt. It's allowing our lives to speak, allowing the questions to arise, and say, God, help me, because my cage is really rattling here, or I'm rattling it, and I have a question that I don't understand. And then it is simply waiting. So a lot of, I suppose, evangelizing for me is simply being with somebody and allowing their life to speak, and then see what comes up.
Thank you, Chris. Belinda.
Morning. I was reminded of this when Jo was talking this morning about what she was doing, the role that she was taking on. And it's about our youngest daughter. Yesterday was a bitter-sweet day for me. Ian's away, so he had nothing to do with it, bless him. Our daughter moved out and moved into her own home. And some of you know, and some of you don't, that she suffers with ADHD. And she has really struggled throughout her teenage years. And there were times where we were desperately calling out to God for him to intervene in certain situations that were happening in her life and that she was struggling with. And we continue to pray for her. And the reason I'm here is to give thanks to God, because he has intervened in her life in a major way. Not that she would know that, but she got the help that she needed when she was at university, much to our shame, because we didn't kind of recognize it at the time when she was going through it, the actual extent of her difficulties. But she stepped into that help, and she really took hold of her own recovery journey. Not that she's recovered, because it's an ongoing process for her, but she's learnt to regulate the things that she knows pushes her buttons. And I just want to give thanks to God, because he has held her in his hands. She isn't walking with the Lord at this time, but we have great hope that he still has his hand on her, and that he cares for her, he loves her. And I just want to give thanks to God for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is a very quick one. In the course of that, I think it was last week, the weeks are going a bit haywire at the minute. I think last week, maybe the week before, we've been trying to sort out having a stall at the Riverside Fair, which is in June. And we've got one, which is great. So it's been a bit of a to and fro with emails and what is it we want to do and all that. And I just wanted to share that, and sort of to share that I just feel really hopeful and full of faith for it. It's a great opportunity. We're going to do some messy church activities. So there'll be fun activities for families, well, and anyone who wants to do them. But it's also an opportunity to share something of God through those activities. And there'll probably be lots of families and stuff there. And it'd just be a really great opportunity to share some of God, some of Jesus, with lots of people. So that's really exciting.
And I will say with that, it's tricky this time of year when we think about doing the messy church events to fit them in. So you look at May and you have bank holiday weekends and different things happening, and then you get into June and it's like all the town stuff that's going on. Like pretty much every Sunday there's something. So this seemed like a good way of continuing our messy church thing, but we're going to take it out and do it there. So thank you. Any more? All right. Judy, would you like to come and share at this point? And then are you going to go straight into worship and things from there? Is that? Yeah, no, that's good.
Better? Is that better? Okay, I'm hoping we're going straight into worship. A few weeks ago, I was feeling particularly flat. We're trying to sell our house. Nobody seems to want to buy it. And there's nothing up here that was suitable. And it all seemed to be dragging on. And I was getting fed up with it all. And I felt when I went to spend some time with the Lord that he was saying to me, you need to speak in tongues more. You haven't done it on a regular basis for a while. So I started. Since then, one or two strange things have been happening. I kind of picked up an 18-year-old lad. Now, I've passed him on to Zeph, who's going to follow that up for me because that's far more sensible. But I was able to give him one of the Alive newspapers, which he promised me he'd read. So we'll see what comes of that. And then 10 days ago, we were in the city centre and went to John Lewis's. And the up escalator was not working. And we had to wait for a bit while a load of other people stood at the bottom. And there was an employee of John Lewis's standing there. Her job was to tell people, that, in case they hadn't noticed, that the escalator wasn't working and that here was the lift. And we got to chatting to her because she just looked at us, at the number of people who were in their 30s, 40s and 50s who were opting to use the lift instead of walking up the escalator. And we all know an escalator that you expect to work and doesn't work feels really peculiar, but actually there's nothing wrong with it. And we just got to chatting with this young woman, and she was really friendly. And before we'd gone to town, God had just sort of pressed it on me that I should take one of the Alive newspapers with me. So it was in my rucksack. Well, at this moment, I forgot all about it. We were chatting to this young lady, and we started joking about the fact that we were old and we were going to walk up the lift. I mean, up the escalator. We weren't going to use the lift. So we had a good laugh about this, and then the crowds all went away. So we got onto the bottom of the escalator, and I'm going to blame my husband here. He said, "Shall we run?" So I said, "Go on then." And you're probably thinking that's a stupid thing to do at your age, running up an escalator when the steps are all a different size from your stairs at home, and you shouldn't be running upstairs anyway. However, all is well. And we got to the top, and when I turned round and see if there was anybody looking, the young lady at the bottom was standing there like this. So I just thumbs up. And what we were actually doing was going up to the cafe because we'd got vouchers for free things. While we're sitting there, we were chatting, and the phrase dropped into my mind because we'd been talking to this young lady about the fact that we were alive and that made us able to move and what have you. And we weren't going to throw that life away. Anyway, we're sitting there having our coffee, and this phrase came into my mind. Now go back down and tell her really why you're alive. Oh. So we got to the first floor. Of course, Barry wanted to go and drool over the computers. So I carried on down with my heart pounding in my mouth, thinking in my head, what am I going to say? And then I remembered the Alive newspaper. I got down to the bottom of the escalator, and this young lady was still there, but nobody else was there. She promptly flung her arms round me and gave me a big hug. So there I am standing in the middle of John Lewis's with this random stranger who's practically hugging the life out of me. Okay, Lord, now this is going well. Anyway, I gave her the newspaper and explained to her that I was alive because Jesus was alive and because Jesus lived in here and he had risen from the dead. Well, more hugs. I thought, okay, this is fine. And we chatted a bit more. More hugs, all instigated by her. And then she said, I have lots of friends. I am from Jordan. And they are so sad because of what's going on out there. But she said, of course I am a Muslim, but I have lots of Christian friends and I often go to church with them and I enjoy it. Some of them are Christians. Anyway, it transpired she was not going to get up here on a Sunday because she lives a bit too far away. But she hugged the Alive newspaper and said she would read it. And she was really open to hear more about the Lord. And we went home and I started praying for her. And I realized that these things were happening because I was just speaking in tongues. And it was opening the door to my spirit hearing more of what God was saying. And that he was going to start using me a bit more. And of course I felt a lot better about my whole situation as well. And then God impressed upon me to say to you, if you used to speak in tongues and it's gone a bit dry, or if you speak in tongues but you'd like to do it a bit more, or maybe you don't speak in tongues but you would like to, we're going to have some worship, and after a little while I'm going to go down there, and if anybody wants the Holy Spirit to come and bless them, he is here and he is free to come. Before we came to church this morning, I looked out the window and of course it was pouring with rain again. And I sat down and I was running late, so I just started to pray in tongues. And this phrase, raining cats and dogs, came into my head. I thought, that's weird. What's that got to do with it? I Googled it. In the 17th century, when there was lots of rubbish in the road, the previous night's chamber pots, dead rats, dead mice, and sometimes dead cats and dead dogs, and heavy or persistent rain would wash them all away, get rid of the smell and cleanse the streets. And I believe that the Holy Spirit was speaking through that to say, if you feel that there is rubbish in your life that needs washing away, he will come and rain on you. He doesn't invade. The Holy Spirit is a gentleman. But if you want more of the Holy Spirit, basically it's if you want it, come and get it.